Hello and welcome to Saving Glenbarr Doocot, a community heritage project brought to you by Scottish Historic Buildings Trusts and Limerich on behalf of Glenbarr Community Development Association. SHBT is Scotland's national building preservation charity dedicated to rescuing and repurposing historic buildings at risk. For almost 50 years, SHBT has successfully saved and revitalised more than 30 significant sites across Scotland, giving them new life and purpose within their communities. Limerich is one of Scotland's leading traditional building maintenance, conservation and restoration specialists. With an experienced and qualified team of traditional stonemasons, lime plasterers and building conservation technicians and surveyors. What is the Doocot project about? Well, Glenbarr Community Development Association contacted Scottish Historic Buildings Trust following an article about SHBT's Doocot Diaries, a social media campaign to raise awareness about Doocots, of which SHBT has 2 Doocots in its care. GCDA are keen to investigate the options for saving the Glenbarr Doocot as part of its overall woodland management plan. SHBT and Limerich were appointed to carry out a condition survey and a feasibility study to investigate the options to save the building and consider potential end uses. So, why are we here this evening? Well, we're here to share a presentation about this unique local structure and to listen to your ideas and thoughts and to create a shared community vision and to address the urgent need for repairs to stabilise the structure. To discuss how we can fund urgent repairs and to discuss the community's role in helping to preserve it. And lastly, discuss the ways that you can get involved in the first steps to saving the building. So what is a Doocot? A very quick recap of the history of Doocots for those who didn't manage along to the last community talk in February. A Doocot is a Scottish word for a dovecote, a structure built to house pigeons or doves. They were a common feature on estates and farms, providing a valuable source of meat and eggs, particularly during winter. The term Doocot is derived from the Scots word doo, meaning dove. Doocots are a fascinating part of rural life and estate architecture and generally have 2 main styles, lectern and beehive, although there are several other styles seen across Scotland. There were 5 main requirements for a Doocot: shelter, ventilation, ease of access, protection from vermin and provision of nesting facilities. An example of a lectern Doocot and a beehive Doocot are shown on this slide. The Hepburn Doocot was built in the 16th century and restored in the 1990s and is located in East Lothian and is used as the flag heritage centre. The Bogward Doocot was also built in the 16th century and is located to the west of St Andrews. This was repaired with a new roof and door and masonry repairs, but doesn't have a specific use, but is open to the public during annual events. SHBT's Doocots. As mentioned earlier, SHBT has 2 Doocots in its care, one at Strathleven House in Dumbarton and another at Blackburn House in West Lothian. The Strathleven House Doocot has been stabilised for a future restoration project, and the one at Blackburn House was restored and given a new use as an interpretation centre documenting the history of the main house. Your Doocot in Glenbarr. Now that we've set the scene, let's take a look at your Doocot. Glenbarr Doocot is C-listed and is believed to have been constructed in the 18th century as part of the Glenbarr Abbey estate. In Scotland, a Category C-listed building is one of local importance, representing a lesser example of a specific period, style or building type. These buildings are considered to have special architectural or historic interest and may be moderately altered, but they are representative examples of their kind. They can also be simple, traditional buildings that group well with those in higher categories of A and B. In this case, it groups with Glenbarr Abbey, which is a B-listed building. The masonry structure has been on the Buildings at Risk register since 2009 and is owned by the Clan McAllister Charitable Trust. The earliest map found is from 1867, which shows the Doocot clearly marked within the woodland. Apart from historic maps, we have not been able to source any drawings or historic images of the Doocot intact. Therefore, if anyone is able to share any historic information, stories or images, then please do get in touch with SHBT. Current condition. The Doocot is currently ruinous and roofless and is showing structural deterioration with a significant loss of masonry from several of the wall heads. It has been negatively impacted by the surrounding trees. A mat of shallow-rooted vegetation is covering the wall heads, and 2 juvenile trees have firmly taken root within the structure. It has been noted that these trees have grown substantially since our building survey in January 2025. If these areas are left unattended for much longer, it will pose a significant threat to the stability of the walls and will start to loosen and dislodge more stonework. Furthermore, the vegetation on the exposed wall heads continues to absorb moisture, causing the bonding of the masonry below to separate, which will lead to collapse over time. The external sun deck projections remain, although they are at risk of loss should the unfurling of the structure continue. All of the wall surfaces have varying degrees of organic soiling and surface staining, and there's evidence of lime harling remaining on 3 of the elevations. The ground level to the rear of the building is significantly raised, and it is important to note the proximity and the lean direction of the mature trees. The surrounding mature trees and the tree stump at the entrance pose a current and future risk associated with collapse and heave from underlying root growth. In general, over-encroachment of vegetation encourages rapid biological growth on the surface of the masonry by obstructing wind and sunlight. To summarise, the Doocot has been left to the elements and is becoming increasingly dilapidated and vulnerable. So over time the building will continue to crumble and potentially be lost completely. Why save the Doocot? So why take action? Well, for many reasons. Firstly, for its cultural and architectural heritage. The Doocot is of a particular time and place in history, a survivor of a bygone age that adds to the richness of Glenbarr. Doocots are deeply rooted in Scotland's cultural and architectural heritage. Doocots were considered to be status symbols for landowners and represent a time when pigeons were a vital part of agricultural life and estate management. Although their intended use has dwindled, they have become important historical landmarks that we don't want to lose. Next, for educational value. Heritage education can contribute to our sense of place and defining local identity. Sites of historical interest within a community can offer windows into the past and enhance our own sense of rootedness and belonging. The Doocot can not only offer a site for historical education, but wider education such as biodiversity and traditional building skills, to name a few. The potential end use could also offer a wider educational value, which we can talk about a bit later on. Community pride, identity and engagement. The Doocot project could significantly enhance community pride by acting as tangible links to the past and reinforcing cultural identity. The Doocot could provide a focal point for community gatherings, school groups, attract visitors, and could even stimulate local economies through tourism and heritage-related business. Connections to the past. Doocots would have been built by local people, using local materials and forms of construction. Many Doocots only survive today thanks to the high level of craftsmanship involved in their construction. A new facility within the woodland. As part of the wider strategy, saving the Doocot would provide a unique facility benefiting the community, including individuals, families, local groups, schools, and for the wider Kintyre community and visitors from further afield. A vision for the Doocot. Community participation is at the heart of the project, and we would like to hear your thoughts to help us shape a shared vision for going forward. Broadly speaking, we recommend a first phase of urgent repairs. This would stabilise and protect the historic structure from further deterioration, celebrate its history and purpose through events and site visits, make it safe to access for the community, save it for future generations, and also develop a unique community asset. Going forward and potential new uses. We'd like to think that following the proposed urgent repairs, a project could be developed to restore the Doocot. This would include rebuilding the walls, hurling and limewashing the exterior and interior where appropriate, constructing a new roof, providing a more suitable and level ground surface internally and externally, installing a door, and fitting out the interior and exterior based on the new proposed end use, which leads us to the important topic of a potential new use. And we'd like to open the discussion and hear the community voice. What could the space be used for? What use would benefit the local area and wider reach of Kintyre? We have some ideas to start the conversation, and these include a heritage interpretation installation, similar to what we had done in Blackburn House in West Lothian. This could include a basic interpretation within the structure, telling the story of traditional Doocots, their role in rural Scottish life, and more specific history on the Glenbarr Doocot and the surrounding area. This could be a simple and low-cost option, and could possibly be a larger, more detailed intervention. It could be as simple as a QR code linking to an audio guide, or durable presentation boards for visitors to read at the site. This would meet heritage, education and tourism objectives. Another option could be nature and wildlife observation hide. The structure could be adapted as a habitat or as a hide to view wildlife. It could be used for biodiversity education. This would aim to support environmental objectives and link with the local interest in nature. Further consultation would be required to confirm the location is suitable for this type of use. An outdoor learning node for schools. The structure has already proved popular with the local school, and visits have been made to the Doocot for outdoor learning. The Doocot is ideal for linking heritage, nature and education. By using natural and salvaged materials from the woodland, such as felled trees and rubble, a small outdoor classroom could be created in a cleared space adjacent to the Doocot. Alongside interpretation panels, learning materials could be developed in conjunction with schools and have changing themes and activities across the year. This idea could be developed through consultation with local schools, parent councils, forestry commission, woodland community groups, RSPB, crafts and trades for conservation skills. Another potential end use could be for an art or sculpture site with rotating artworks. The Doocot could be used as a setting for art or sculpture, breathing new life into the structure and a new layer of meaning. The Doocot could offer a unique backdrop for installations, providing a small focused space for artists to work. Artworks could connect to themes relevant to the community, the village or the wider area. It could be rotating and ever-changing, attracting new audiences and supporting cultural tourism. The artworks could be temporary, semi-permanent or permanent installations. It could be more focused on community-led or school art projects, rotating and seasonal. Another option would be a landmark within a woodland walk. The Doocot could be incorporated into a walking trail, with the possibility of expanding the trail to include other structures, buildings and historic sites and viewpoints. A woodland walk could contain heritage, ecology, sensory engagement and creativity. A route could be developed in line with the current woodland strategy and be appealing to locals and visitors of all ages. Walks could be themed to focus on specific features. A trail could incorporate nature and seasonal interests, birds and bat boxes, pollinator patch for wildflower planting, a listening bench or a sketch stop, and community-built installations. Another option would be storytelling or poetry retreat. The Doocot nesting boxes could be used to tuck away stories or poems to be found by someone else. The inside of the building could be curated as a creative hideaway with a bench and a durable story or poetry box for submissions by local writers, visitors and school groups. Stories could be shared at the Doocot or put online and shared via a QR code. Subtle trail markers around the woodland could share stories, poetry and quotations. Special events could be held, such as a residency for a writer to come for the day to write and share stories. This option would require some consultation with local writers' groups, storytellers and local schools. The Doocot could lend itself to becoming a micro-museum. A micro-museum could utilise the nesting boxes again for display of objects. The items would need to be robust and low-tech and suitable for external display. The museum concept could include interpretive panels, reconstructed nesting boxes, replica objects. There could be rotating content and changeable themes. Creation of an accompanying micro-museum passport could be downloaded or printed with facts and questions and places for drawing and writing. Part of the visit to the structure could invite people to share their memories of the area. It could be something quite simple, such as a picnic and reflection space. This would be a low impact and low cost intervention and would invite people to simply pause and connect with nature and enjoy the surrounding woodland. It is more likely this would involve some kind of seating or table outside the Doocot. The design of the space could work with a specific view or sightline. Lastly, a hybrid of all of these uses. There's many possibilities for the future of the Doocot. It's possible to mix and match and create a hybrid proposal from the options I've discussed, or develop one specific option in greater detail. It would be good to have a rotating plan to generate more interest and attract more people across the year to the Doocot. This would need promotion and management. We've received some very valuable feedback from the local school, supporting the idea of an outdoor learning space, storytelling poetry retreat, and an art or sculpture site. We'd be very keen to receive further feedback on the ideas, and we have a survey sheet as well, and we encourage you to fill that out at the end of the session. Phasing the work. To get to the wider vision, we need to consider phasing the work. Phase 1 would consist of the urgent repairs to secure the building fabric while a restoration project is developed. This is important to halt any further decay and will save money down the line. The work is estimated to be in the region of £30,000. Phase 2 would be a full restoration of the building, and depending on the proposed end use and specifications, could cost anything in the region of £300,000 to £400,000. Phase 3 would be the management of the building. This would be the programming, promotion and maintenance of the Doocot in the future. Funding and volunteering. With the bigger vision in our heads, we need to look at what the first step of the journey will be, and that is securing the building fabric to make sure a future project can be developed. With urgent works of up to £30,000, how will this be funded? Firstly, this could be through contributions from Glenbarr Community Development Association. There's a possibility of making some funding applications to grant-giving bodies such as Historic Environment Scotland. It could be through donations from local businesses, and it could be through community fundraising. In addition, we would like to look into community volunteering. Opportunities for volunteers can be widespread, based on available time, skills and interests. These could be desk-based or remote volunteering opportunities, and these could include historic research, documenting the work and recording stories, content generation for social media and newsletters, attracting more volunteers and spreading the word about the project, coordinating site visits, gathering information to help develop the vision, and also fundraising. There could be site-based volunteering options, which could include setting up the site with the contractor, helping to clear vegetation, ground scraping, preparing and applying materials, and general manual labour. Visiting the site to photograph, record the work underway, interview contractors and volunteers to build a diary of the work on site. While the work is underway on site, the contractor can offer training. A bank of regular volunteers could be established and a training package developed by Linerich. A volunteer sign-up sheet has been passed to Glenbarr Community Development Association, and this will be distributed amongst the community. Documenting this phase of urgent works and community engagement is a very important exercise that we will present at the next stage, when a significant amount of funding will be applied for to restore the building. We need to be able to demonstrate the support and engagement with the community and build evidence that we can use in applications. It also attracts attention and builds momentum. Community engagement. This is a very important part of the process in the early stages, as we're doing just now, but also as the project progresses to being on site. Again, there's a variety of options to engage the local and wider community, and these can be developed. They can include activities such as Design a Doocot, which is something we carried out at our Strathleven House Doocot, where families and young people were invited along to use paper crafts to design their own Doocot. There can be Doocot worksheets. There can be an archaeology event, there can be a recording event, and there can be a variety of different types of site visits. There's many opportunities for community engagement, and again, these can be developed in line with the contractor and with local organisations. How to get involved? We are looking for enthusiastic volunteers to help with various aspects of the repair project. We have prepared a volunteer sign-up sheet where you can state your interests, the time you have available, and how you would like to be involved. Your feedback and thoughts are very important to the success of the project, and we hope this talk has piqued your interest and inspired you to get involved with this important community project.